We are back. What's up, guys? It's Mike Frank with Berkshire Hathaway, Frank Oliver and Company, coming to you from our little studio back here in the back office. Super thankful for our fresh walls, new lighting, everything's been redone, and just a little bit of refresher that we're back in the office, maskless now, so trying to be safe and preventative, and so thankful to be able to share with you guys. Over the past couple of weeks and in the coming months, I'm just thankful to have something of normalcy, or whatever normalcy looks like in today's market. So, today we're going to be talking a little bit about appraisals and what that means for you as a buyer, what it means for you as a seller, and all the things that are going on in the market, kind of how you're going to manage that. Obviously, we've got a lot of people that are transacting. A lot of people are making moves, and there's a lot of people making offers. More than one, sometimes 3, sometimes 5, and sometimes 18. Go Ben. Ha. But what we're doing for those people is we're trying to find ways to mitigate their expenses, mitigate their costs, and prevent themselves from, let's just say, losing money. In the long run, that's ultimately why you're buying a home, for the equity and the value that it brings, and you want to make sure that it protects itself in the right way. The bank does too. Believe it or not, those people giving you that $300, $500, or $1 million loan might possibly want to make sure that their money is invested into a good investment. Well, that's what an appraisal is for. It's an independent third-party evaluation on the value of the home. It's going to take into the condition, the location, the features of the property as it compares to the other comparable home sales in the market, and shows that it substantiates and supports the value that the bank is putting into it. Now, again, if you're getting a conventional loan with a 20% down payment, perhaps they're not considering your investment quite as much as maybe a VA loan with 0% down payment. Perhaps they're considering something that would be a little bit more marketable to a conventional loan, or they're willing to take you a little bit more risky because if the market falls a little bit, it's your 20% that you're going to lose, not their 80%. So an appraisal is always going to be something there for the bank primarily, but it's certainly there to protect you as the buyer as well. Now, how would this protect a seller? Well, it wouldn't. But where an appraisal is going to come into value for a seller is it's going to give them the confidence that the bank is going to support the sales price and they're actually going to go to fruition on this loan. So something that a lot of sellers don't realize is that when we're following up with the lender asking, hey, have you gotten that appraisal back? Have we verified the value and run it through underwriting? Well, one of the things that we're doing for our sellers is we're making sure that, hey, by the way, the week before settlement, the bank doesn't get cold feet. We want to make sure that the bank is as invested as the buyer. So the appraisal is really there to protect everybody. Now, in the process of determining the appraisal value, the appraiser is going to take in things like condition, bedrooms, bathrooms, floor plan functionality, square footage, things like updates, or have you done the roof? Have you maintained the garage and the exterior, right? Is the house worn down? So there's different levels of home, there's different levels of style, and there's things that the appraiser is going to take in, not to get real nerdy on you, but basically a brand new home, a newly renovated home, a well-maintained home, a poorly maintained home, a home that needs a lot of work, and a home that's not inhabitable. So you're going to fall somewhere in there, and the appraiser is going to take all of those values upon their visual inspection to do the property the justice that it's deserved. Now, typically, 90% of the time, they're going to use something called a Uniform Residential Appraisal Report, which is the report that all appraisers use that we can look at consistently and regularly and know what we're reading. It's going to show all the value of the home, which also, by the way, includes some photos from their walkthrough of the property. It's also going to include a sketch of the floor plan of the lot, and it's going to include any kind of exterior outbuildings that might add or detract value from your property. It's also going to note the surroundings of the community. So if your community is like-kind buildings, or if you're that one big monstrous modern home in the community of 1950s Cape Cods, that's going to come up in your appraisal report. All of these things are going to be calculated in, it's going to be figured in into the value of the home, and it's going to have lots of other pertinent information, such as public tax records, also the viability of the information as it's coming from the MLS or coming from the other agent, or perhaps just coming from pictures. So the appraiser is going to do all of this in a report. It's going to come back to you as the buyer or the seller, and it's going to be about 30 pages long, and it's going to tell you one thing that you really care about. Does the value support the sales price? Is it lower? Is it higher? And truly, do we care if the value is higher than the sales price? Not at all. If the value is $585 and the sales price is $585, great, supports the value of the home. If the value is $610 and the sales price is $585, great, supports the value of the home. Can you get that extra $25,000? No, you can't. Can't do anything with it. It serves you no good. Does it hurt you? No, it doesn't. It just says that an appraiser really felt like it was worth a little bit more money than perhaps you're paying for it. The likelihood of that is pretty slim, but it does happen. Now, What happens if that same $585,000 house was appraised for $570,000? Well, therein lies our problem. In today's market, buyers are bidding up at every level that they can. They're offering everything that they can, from their firstborn to a year's supply of tacos, in order to get their home of their dreams. So what's happening in our market is that homes are overvalued and they're under appraising. So $585,000 sales price, $570,000 appraisal. Well, there's a $15,000 gap or delta, depending on how you look at it. Well, that can be solved in any different way. The first way is we're going to negotiate for the buyer, we're going to protect their interests, and we're going to reduce the sales price from $585,000 all the way down to $570,000. Now, the other way, we work for the seller, and we're going to protect the seller. We're going to fight with the buyer, and we're going to encourage the buyer to pay in cash that $15,000 difference. Because remember, the bank will only lend on the $575,000 appraisal value. Very few banks go over appraisal value. That's a story for a different day. But in our terms, we're going to work for the buyer to pay that difference in cash. Now, remember, this is a negotiation, so it can go any way you cut it. You could reduce the sales price by $10,000. Buyer could come out of pocket by $5,000. There's a lot of opportunity here for you guys. It's not exactly set in stone. But what I'm going to advise to you is, before you endeavor into figuring out the value of your home, pull the comparable home sales. Look at what the market is doing. Look at the appreciation over the last couple of months. I just did this for a buyer in our area, and the home sales supported X number. Well, we wanted to appraise for a higher number. And how do I think that that's going to work? Well, by looking at the market trend. The market is rising at about 8.1% in that particular community every single month, which is a crazy number, but that's what we're seeing. Time out. Back up. 8.1% a year. That would be a crazy, crazy number. So at 8.1% a year, it was something like 7% per month, 0.7%. Man, I'm messing this up. But 0.7% per month, we were able to calculate based on the comparable home sales plus 0.7% from the month that they were sold to appreciate to the value that they offered the seller. It was a way to show the seller that we've calculated the value of your home. We're not just throwing spit at the wall and trying to see what sticks. We're trying to make sure that we know what we're putting in front of you. And as professionals, we're protecting both the buyer and the transaction, right? We want to make sure that we get to settlement. Ultimately, that's our goal, and making sure that our deals close is our number one priority. Now, if you guys have any more questions, of course, reach out to us. DM, PM, or subscribe to the link below if you haven't already. And I'm super excited to talk to you guys next week. Thanks so much. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe for weekly content. Also, check out our social media pages. The links are in the description below. See you next week.